Propaganda is a form of communication that is designed to influence the listener into accepting a proposition, usually involving some form of deception. This could include simply presenting one side of the story, half-truths or outright lies, and despite the dread-sounding tone of the word, propaganda is a normal part of democratic life and every person is in some way conversant with it. This should not be a terrible shock to you. All advertising is a form of propaganda. Adverts are a communication designed to persuade you to purchase a product, one you probably don't need but might want. The advertiser has no power to compel you to purchase their product, so they have to be savvy and craft narratives that will make you choose their product over the products of their competitors. You'll never hear an advert that lists the drawbacks or limitations of their product. You're only given a glowing, positive side of the story, and this is why the very nature of an advert is something of which the average person is somewhat suspicious. You know when you see an advert that you are being sold something, so you are naturally on your guard because you know about the interests of the seller. They want your money. Propaganda is so powerful in persuading people to follow a particular line of thought that it is usually regulated by the government in order to prevent people from being outright lied to. There is something about the method of the message that gives authority to the propagandist, and it can be used to parlay lies into truth and fool a great number of people. Hence, we need bodies like the Advertising Standards Agency to ensure that what is put into adverts is not derogatory, false, or harmful in some other way. As pernicious as propaganda might sound, you are exposed to it all day, every day, and it is not wrong that you should be. In a democracy, you should not only expect to see propaganda, but expect to see all kinds of propaganda. You are usually exposed to a full spectrum of thoughts and ideas, and it is incumbent on you to parse it and make sense of it. Imagine, however, if for some reason every other soft drink manufacturer other than Pepsi was unable to advertise their product. What if Pepsi were able to tell all people at all times that every one of their competitors was inferior and that they provided the superior product in all ways? What do you think would happen to the relative sales of Pepsi and the other forms of soft drink? Of course, Pepsi sales would skyrocket and other company sales would collapse. This is because Pepsi would have gained a totalizing hold on the propaganda that consumers could see, and the steady drip of this would gradually become a rhetorical truism, because nobody would know different nor could express dissent. Pepsi would have a monopoly on propaganda. And so Pepsi's advertising would be the only message you would hear, which is something that people used to be concerned about in the 20th century. Media monopolies on particular stories about the world were viewed with heightened skepticism because it was evident from the totalitarian regimes of the 20th century that this unified messaging is what manufactures consent for evil. As Frederick Hayek put it in The Road to Serfdom, quote, "Neither propaganda in itself nor the techniques employed are peculiar to totalitarianism, and that what so completely changes its nature and effect in a totalitarian state is that all propaganda serves the same goal, that all instruments of propaganda are coordinated to influence the individuals in the same direction and to produce the characteristic Gleichschaltung of all minds. As a result, the effect of propaganda in totalitarian countries is different not only in magnitude but in kind from that of the propaganda made for different ends by independent and competing agencies." Gleichschaltung is a word the Nazis used to describe their propaganda techniques and is translated either as coordination, synchronization, or consolidation. It is to bring all members of a society in line with their particular worldview so that the thoughts of all can be controlled by the state. In this regard, democracies are characterized instead by their competing plurality of opinions and worldviews. This is what makes democratic society strong, competitive, fair, and fundamentally able to pursue the truth. They may well not arrive at the truth or find it long after the fact, but at least there is a mechanism for truth to be discovered and shared with others. Truth is, normally, in the Western mind at least, considered to be the object of highest value. To know what is true is the first step on the path that grounds our thoughts in something objective, honest, and real. The desire for truth is the principle that makes democracies morally superior to the alternatives. It is the abandonment of the desire for truth that has made the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the subsequent narratives reported by the media so deeply pernicious. Before Russia's invasion, reporting on Ukraine was relatively balanced, because there appeared to be no identifiable investment in it. You could discover negative things about Ukraine and its President Zelensky. Various media outlets reported that Ukraine has a neo-Nazi problem, or that Zelensky was becoming autocratic and had amassed hundreds of millions of dollars in illicit offshore wealth, or that he is dangerously pro-Russian or is failing in his campaign promises. However, as soon as the invasion started, all that changed. The media narrative, from the smallest local paper to the most influential international press, began singing his unadulterated praises. We learn from them that now Zelensky is a hero, a global Jewish hero. In fact, he is a global Jewish hero who is more than just a man. He is in fact a superhero. He is Captain Ukraine to Putin's Red Skull. No longer do we learn facts about Zelensky's corruption or failure. No longer do we learn that half of Ukrainians view Zelensky's demand to imprison the previous President Poroshenko as political persecution. No longer do we learn that he is a corrupt Eastern European politician because the media agenda appears to be pro-war. Now, questioning any part of the establishment narrative on Ukraine is taken as if to be high treason. When Tulsi Gabbard explained to Tucker Carlson that failing to exclude Ukraine as a NATO partner is one of the root causes of the invasion because this creates a legitimate security concern for Russia, Mitt Romney denounced her calm and rational statements as treasonous lies and Russian propaganda. It is not Russian propaganda to make valid geostrategic critiques. It is not Russian propaganda to criticize or present alternative narratives to the dominant theme of Putin is the new Hitler. It is, in fact, anti-propaganda to present the other side of the story and to engage in a discourse about the event. What is a key component of propaganda, however, is to never present the other side of the argument. And in fact, it seems like the West is attempting to create a Gleichschaltung of its own when it brings down an iron curtain on Russian media to try and ensure that all Western thought is synchronized into a single narrative that beats the war drum to demonize Russia without having access to all the facts. It is despicable that we have censored voices from the other side of the debate. This is anti-democratic in its essence and shows that we have abandoned our commitment to discovering the truth. When we remove the opposition's ability to speak, we are saying that they have nothing valid to say, and that all good lies with us and all evil lies with them. This is not how the world works. This is how totalitarian regimes work. Not only is it evil to deny their ability to speak and our ability to hear, but they fail because of their divergence from the truth. You can deny reality, but you can't avoid the consequences of denying reality. It also humiliates the population of the country that is forced to hear, believe, and repeat unending lies. Moreover, this is what creates the hysteria that we see from those people who buy into such narratives. The closer they get to learning that their emotional investment in one side might be unjustified, the more shrill they become in their denunciation of dissidents and their demands for censorship. It is hard to admit that you're wrong, and harder still to admit that you have been tricked into lying. But it is bad for us to believe liars and to be liars, and it is not like we have not been here before. Only this time, the stakes aren't a few minor Middle Eastern countries. The stakes are World War III with a nuclear power. For fear of allowing a diversity of powers that must respect each other and cooperate in the world, the Western media is pushing us to a war the public does not want with their own propaganda, and denouncing anyone who wishes to provide further information as propagandists for the other side. This is an evil and infantile binary view of the world that is not fit for a democracy or even adult conversation. Our commitment should be to what is true, not to what is advantageous for the elite classes of the West. To avoid the totalization of our countries, we must resist this pull for emotional gratification and relearn what it is to be honest. After all, if the truth is Russian propaganda, then we have simply admitted that accusing us of being an empire of lies is also true.